Hey everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. This video is being released just after Halloween, the sort of close of the official spooky season, but November, fall, it's getting a little chilly. You got the leaves dying and falling from the trees. There's sort of a spookiness that I think continues through much of fall until we get into the more jolly winter Christmas season. So today I want to talk about another sort of spooky show. In 1977, ITV broadcast a really excellent children's TV program. Like I said, it's spooky. It's also smart, a little bit of horror, a little bit of mystery, and it is called Children of the Stones. We're not talking about Mick Jagger and those guys. No, not at all. The weirdness of this show begins right at the opening. Standing stones seemingly coming towards you, looming over you, very ominous. And rather than traditional music, you get something moody, punctuated by a sort of shrieking choir, like people in religious ecstasy or fervor. The music was conducted by Sidney Sagar, and it sets the mood of this show just perfectly. The show consists of 7 episodes that were broadcast between January 10th, 1977 and February 21st, 1977. The series was created and written by Jeremy Burnham, who had done episodes of The Avengers, The Saint, and Randall and Hopkirk Deceased, which I've reviewed on this channel, and also by Trevor Ray, who worked on Doctor Who as both a writer and an actor. It stars Gareth Thomas as physicist Adam Blake. He's probably, of course, best known to Sci-Fi fans as Raj Blake on Blake's 7, and Freddie Jones, a prolific English actor. Also Ian Cuthbertson as Henrik, another actor who was in tons of TV shows and films in the UK at the time, including The Avengers, Adam and Lives, Department S, Doctor Who, Inspector Morse, and Agatha Christie's Poirot. The show was produced and directed by Peter Graham Scott, a director of films since the 1940s. Among his credits are Captain Clegg / Night Creatures from 1962 and an episode of The Prisoner. The story begins with the arrival of Adam Blake and his son Matthew, who's played by Peter Demon, to the village of Milbury, which is situated within and around an old, ancient stone circle. Blake is there on a research grant to study the magnetic fields of the stone circle for 3 months. And as they're driving into the village, Matthew suddenly spots what appears to be a stone in the road. He screams. His dad hits the brakes. But upon stopping, it turns out to be Mrs. Crabtree, played by Ruth Dunning. She's the landlady of the cottage that they're going to be staying at. So we get a little data dump at the beginning, of those two talking, and we get a sign of the weirdness to come in this episode. Now, I'm only going to be showing really things from the first episode, so I'm not going to really have any spoilers here in terms of, the 7 episodes of the series. Well, the story in Children of the Stones unfolds slowly. One strange occurrence after another, a girl staring at Matthew through the window of the cottage, and then who seemingly disappears when he runs outside. Matthew also has a piece of art, a painting, that he purchased before coming to the village, which appears to depict the standing stones at Milbury. And when Mrs. Crabtree sees this painting, she faints dead away. And this is just as Henrik, Lord of the Manor, arrives. Now, he awakens her with just a touch on her shoulder. He's friendly, he's affable, seemingly harmless, and yet, upon leaving to fetch 2 more cups of tea for herself and Henrik, she says to Henrik, "Happy day, sir." It's kind of a curious greeting. So you're getting all these little oddities. It's a very economical opening for a show. it lays out several, little mysteries that are going to be explained and explored over the course of the series. Now, Hendrik seems a little upset at seeing this painting as well. It was bought in a junk shop, and he wants to know why the boy bought it. He just wanted it. And he notes it resembles the local area. It has an inscription in Latin. I deny the existence of that which exists. Now, Hendrik soon gets his pleasant demeanor back, and Matt is sent off to explore while the grown-ups talk. Got to discuss rent and things like that. Well, explore he does. A friendly local kid shows up on his bike when Matt leaves the cottage. There's another bike handy, so they ride around the village. But while they're doing so, they are spied upon by a stranger. Well, they drop a few clues into the conversation between Adam and Hendrik. Hendrik dabbles in astrophysics, which will be important. And there's an interesting comment about Matthew and the painting. Perhaps the painting found him. Hendrik remarks, when you're done with your work, you will stay. Adam takes this as a question, but it really isn't stated as a question. So they do a nice job of giving just this faint hint of danger, something foreboding in things, even though everything seems to be very pleasant. It's never too obvious, though, and they do kind of keep you guessing right into the final episode about what is really happening in this village. Well, then there's another bombshell. Matthew's mother passed away 2 years ago, and Adam found that he had to be careful of letting him handle any of her possessions, as he would recall memories of her in startling detail. So Matthew might be a little bit psychic. And Hendrik once again brings up their staying on after his work here is done. And Adam looks a little bit concerned about the suggestion. Why is this guy pressing us to stay in the village? So the boys are riding their bikes at top speed, up and down the road, when a truck comes along. And Matthew is sure it's going to hit his pal, and he yells this warning and closes his eyes to avoid seeing the collision. But then the sound of the horn stops. When he opens his eyes, his friend, Bob, is fine, and there is no truck. What does this mean? When they arrive at the local shop, we see that the strange man is still spying on them, and Matthew sees the girl that he spotted earlier from his window. She walks past without saying a word. Okay, upon entering, the boy and the woman behind the counter greet each other with "Happy Day." So once again, that kind of slightly odd greeting. Inside, the girl again appears, and Matthew asks her why she was looking in his window, and she says it's because he and his father are new people. We need new people here. We have to stick together. And she leaves again as Bob approaches. Now, Bob lets him know her name is Sandra, and then her mother looks after the museum. Matthew remarks that she's kind of strange. She says strange things. And he says that's because she's not a happy one. Well, what's a happy one? Someone who's happy, of course. Okay, well, ask a stupid question. Anyways, meanwhile, Dad and Hendrik hit the pub, and there's a woman in there having a drink who observes them enter. She's Margaret Smythe, and it turns out this is Sandra's mother. She's another new arrival, like they said, curator at the museum, widowed, one daughter. Hendrik introduces them. They have a nice conversation. He might need her help as he's researching the stone circle, and she suggests to Adam that he come to the museum tomorrow. Well, Hendrik returns and gives his usual toast, old times and new. That's a very simple toast, right? But it seems rather ominous the way he says it, and Margaret has worry on her face while he's giving that toast. We are by now deeper in the mystery, right? But we haven't really gotten any answers at all. And we have met a few more important people to this little play that we're watching. Well, the next day, Matthew attends the village school and meets the local Draco Malfoy, kind of the local bully. He pulls a rug out from under him as a paper plane careens into his head. It was really quite a good shot. And then asks him what he's going to do about it. And Matthew retorts, "Break your leg." Sandra breaks up this fight as it gets started. And this is important. The boy, Kevin, says, I had to find out if he were human. Of course he is. He only arrived yesterday. Good. One of us then? What does this mean? So Matthew, of course, is confused by all this. So Kevin demonstrates by showing the others in the classroom refuse to ever fight back. They're always happy. Always. All right, now we're starting to get maybe a little bit of an answer of what's going on, but of course, creating more questions. Now, these kids who are always happy are also extremely gifted at mathematics. So if you want to insert a Tylenol joke here, go right ahead. Well, at the museum, we learn that dogs are unfortunately not admitted. No, that's actually not important to all this. But more importantly, Adam gets his own inkling about the strangeness of Milbury. When she says good morning to him, Margaret, the curator, he asks, not happy day? And she says, definitely not. Now, in the museum, there's a map of the local ley lines. Adam, of course, is incredulous about them, but Margaret says she likes to keep an open mind. The ley lines all converge on the manor that is occupied by Hendrik. She notes that some people believe they are like psychic transmission lines. Between them, they realize there are 53 ley lines, and there are 53 stones still standing in the stone circle. Now, Margaret and Sandra have been in the village for just 6 weeks, though she notes that it feels like it's been ages. She enjoys the work, but not necessarily the village, and not being alone. Adam takes this to mean she misses her husband, but she corrects him. No, well, you haven't been here long enough to understand. We also learn here that the stone circle once had 100 stones, and there were 2 avenues, one leading to a hill called the Sanctuary, and the other no longer exists. Moreover, Adam learns that centuries ago, a barber surgeon was caught underneath one of the 40-ton stones. He was crushed, helping to bury one of these stones. The villagers apparently believe that if they buried a stone each year, it would bring them luck. Well, Adam then, at this point excuses himself. He must get to work. He has to do some electronic dowsing to figure out where the fallen stones are. And then an odd request from Margaret before he leaves. Will you do something for me? Touch one of the stones. She wants to find out if he's the kind of man that she thinks he is. Well, as they head to the circle, we see Sandra and Matthew walking home from school, and we see that the man is still spying on Matthew. Matthew finally meets the man, called Di. When he is riding his bike through the stone circle, Di jumps out, and Matthew falls off his bike. Before we see how that turns out, though, Adam and Margaret get to the circle, and Adam does indeed touch one of the stones, and it sends this powerful shock through him, and he has visions of people, including Sandra and Matthew, screaming. And so, an episode of Mini Mysteries ends on 2 more. You will get no more from me, because this is a series you really should watch and enjoy the mystery unfolding before your eyes. Children of the Stones has this great supernatural, spooky sheen over it. And I doubt you will guess, at least completely, the solution to what is going on here. Moreover, what an ending. I mean, it twists and it turns, and it has some real emotional heft to it. There's only 7 episodes, so each is about 25 minutes long. You could get through the entire series pretty quickly, like binging it, or watch them weekly like I did and like they originally were shown. If you enjoy sci-fi, I think you will like this. It was made for children originally, so your kids can certainly watch it. There's going to be nothing really objectionable in it or anything like that. But even though it was made for kids, don't be fooled that it's only for kids. I've reviewed a couple solid kids sci-fi shows on this channel already. Time Slip, another British show, and Land of the Lost from the Crofts. Okay, Land of the Lost, maybe a little bit goofy, but there's some really great sci-fi concepts in it. Now, all 3 of these that just talked about stand as a testament that kids shows do not need to be really dumbed down, do not need to be silly, do not need to be noisy. And since sci-fi offers plenty to interest you beyond, sex and violence, which you're not going to put, generally speaking, into a kid's show. Kids' sci-fi series can be really good for kids or adults. I highly suggest you check out Children of the Stones. I thought it was great. Again, 7 25-minute episodes. You can roar right through this. Good stuff. Very much worth watching. If you've seen this before and have some ideas about it, throw it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions about the series, I'd be happy to answer them, although I will, to the best of my ability, avoid any spoilers in the comments so people can watch it with fresh eyes and enjoy it as it was meant to be enjoyed. If you enjoyed this little quick review of Children of the Stones, please give it a like, maybe subscribe, maybe share with a friend. That would be very cool. But until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there, and I will see you hopefully again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.